What is up, YouTube? You are watching the very first video of the Living on Wheels channel. My name is Joe, and it is great to have you here. The focus of this channel is going to be mainly automotive stuff, but if there's other things in my life that seem like they might be interesting, maybe I'll share them with you. The main purpose of this video, as you guys can probably tell from what the title says, I'm not sure what I'm going to call it yet, but I'm sure you guys will get a good idea. But the main purpose of this video will be to show you guys how me, somebody in a wheelchair, can drive a truck like that. So we're going to go through a little bit of background on myself without getting too crazy on it, just to give you guys an idea of what the situation is. So a little over 4.5 years ago, I was in a wrestling match my senior year of high school, and I ended up breaking my neck in that match. That injury left me paralyzed from about the shoulders down, and that's kind of been my life since then. I was lucky enough to go through a rehab program that ended up getting me back up onto my feet. Nothing crazy. I'm not running marathons. But to go from being paralyzed from the shoulders down basically to being able to stand up even a little bit is pretty freaking awesome. With that being said, life is a little different. Obviously, driving is a little different, and I'll be going over how I do that with you guys today. Alright, so I'm sure most, if not all of you guys are wondering, how does somebody in a wheelchair drive, let alone drive a big truck? As you can tell by the title of this video, that is what I'm going to go over. My setup, it's not the same as everybody else's, but I'm going to show you what I use to drive. Now, you'll start off by seeing that there's something a little out of place on this truck, and that is that. That is a little kind of boom or crane arm that swings around, and I can hook my chair up to it once I get in, and it will pick it up and put it in the bed of the truck. I'm going to set you guys up so you guys can kind of see how I actually get in. Alright, so because I can't kind of lift my legs up too far, I added on these amp research running boards, the powered running boards that drop down a little farther than your regular steps, so that allows me to be able to step up high enough to get onto those and be able to get into the driver's seat. So what I do is just pretty much lock the chair, throw the keys inside, and I can get out of my chair and use the door, help stand up, then I can get in, up onto that step, kind of turn myself around. Another positive to these steps is they're wider, which allows me to do this. So I turn around, and I can sit down right onto the seat. Lift my feet up, put them inside, and I'm in. So then from here, grab the seat cushion off the chair, because here in Oregon it rains all the time and I don't want it getting soaked. Put that inside. I can take the backrest off and we're good to go. So now on my chair I have a little loop, and I have this controller which controls the crane. I can bring the crane down. Now set it up good enough where I can take it, hook it onto my chair, and put her in the bed. There she is, ready for storage. I would normally turn my truck on, start it, let it start warming up while I'm doing that, but obviously for video purposes, I left it off so you guys can hear. Alright, so now that we are in the truck, I'm going to show you how I actually work the pedals or operate the pedals. It's actually a pretty simple setup. So here we go. Right here is the hand controls that I operate both the pedals from. If I pull back on it, that'll be gas, and if I push in on it, that's brake. So, better view down at the pedals. Pulling back on it, you can see the gas pedal get pushed down. It's just connected by a cable, and then the brake is just connected right there. It's a pretty simple setup, but it works well. Now you see the hand controls. I'm sure you guys will notice that. It's nothing fancy. It's basically just one of those steering knobs that, because I have one hand on there at pretty much all times, it makes it easier to maneuver in tighter spaces. With this, it just allows me to turn the wheel. Nothing crazy. Alright, so I set you guys up. We'll go for a short drive just so you can kind of see how it works, how I drive. So we'll fire her up and let her warm up a little. Glow plugs are warm. And there we go. Alright, so I'm not sure how well you guys are going to be able to hear me or not. These 7.3s are known, as I'm sure most of you guys know, to be loud old dinosaurs. We'll go for a quick drive and let you see. So, push in on the brake, put it into drive, and we're good to go. Then it's just as simple as anybody else driving. I will tell you that when I first started to learn to drive with hand controls again, it was like being a child all over again, trying to learn to drive for the first time. I had already been driving before that point, but I obviously broke my neck when I was in high school, and when that happened, I had to stop driving. I wasn't able to drive for a couple of years. It was about 2 years after my injury date that I was able to get my license again and pass a driving test, showing that I could safely drive with hand controls. But yeah, it was a very steep learning curve to try to learn to drive with hand controls. But now, it's pretty much just second nature, like it would be for anybody else driving. Obviously, my hands are a little busier, so I have to choose when I want to mess with the radio or adjust things, but overall it's pretty simple. Come up to the stop, push in, brakes just like any other vehicle, and we're off. Very, very simple setup. And now you guys know how somebody in a wheelchair can drive. Obviously not all setups are the same as this, but for the most part they all have the same general idea of the hand controls connecting to the pedals, and you just drive by hand instead of with your feet. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, leave a comment or ask me. More than happy to answer. I'm sure that I've missed things that are obvious that are just everyday for me, but let me know and I'll answer your questions for you, do the best I can. Alright, so there you have it. That's how I drive my F250 Powerstroke. Now moving on with the channel, there's really not a lot or many great 7.3 content channels out there. So my goal for this channel is to kind of do weekly or regular uploads that I can kind of share the process of me building my truck, how I want to build it, with you guys. I don't know, I think being able to share it and get opinions from you guys would be awesome. Right now she's got a little bit of work done to her, a little bit of power mod, she's tuned, but overall she's fairly stock, and hopefully in the next year or so that'll be changing a lot. Looking forward to going through this process with you guys. Would love to have you guys stick around the channel if you're interested in this stuff. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on the video, and I will catch you on the flip side. Log out.